Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a moment. So grab a cup of tea, um, and join us. Really excited to get started with our second day of the Raise Summit. So I'm just going to give folks another minute and then I'm going to get started.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are and everybody's joining in. If you want to share where you are, your
Okay.
name, parent center, organization, that's nice.
Okay, folks. So just as Miriam said, please throw your info in the chat. We always love to see when our friends are joining from. And so it is a pleasure to be here with you on the second day of our summit. I'm Josie Badger, and I am the co-director of RAISE, along with Miriam, who you will hear from in a moment. But the RAISE Center was and is funded by the Rehab Service Administration to support families of youth with disabilities in transition and, of course, the young adults as well. If you were with us during the last summit day, we talked a lot about parent centers, the work that's being done with them. We talked about policy work, and today we're really focusing on the young adults because none of us would be here if it wasn't for young adults and youth with disabilities. So we have a great lineup of folks speaking today. And please, if you have questions, use the Q&A button. It might be under the More tab, or sometimes there's like three dots. But if you have questions, use that. But we'd love to hear from you. I'm going to turn it over to Miriam.
Yeah, thank you, Josie. My name is Miriam Aliso. I am co-directing the Race Center project along with Josie, and I welcome you to this second day of the summit 2026. And I am going to walk you to some of the settings, features for accessibility that Zoom offers. We have closed captioning provided by Zoom. If you want to use closed caption, click on CC on your screen and the captions will appear. We also have interpretation to Spanish, is live interpretation. Para acceder al canal en español, van a ver en la banda o cinta negra un globo que indica interpretation. Haga clic allí y luego selecciona donde dice Spanish y luego presiona donde dice Mute Original Audio. Esto último filtra completamente la señal en inglés para que pueda escuchar con claridad a nuestro intérprete de hoy, Luis. And we also have live American Sign Language interpretation. We have spotlighted them. And if you want to spotlight them on your end, you click on you hover the three dots and you can pin them. Like Josie said, I'm sorry, for the Q&A, we have activated Q&A on Zoom for questions to the panelists. And we have the chat for interaction regarding any technical issue, any aspect of that. So here is the agenda for today.
Nice. So thank you again. So obviously here we are in the welcome. But last time we had so many great presenters that we pushed one of our parent centers to today. And so that will be the first thing that we are starting off with, followed by we'll be doing a lot of the youth work. And so I'm going to take this moment and let Melissa from our Peak Parent Center in Colorado share what they've been up to. Melissa?
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Edwards. I'm Region D2's co-director of Project Power, the director of TA. I am excited to show you how Project Power is helping people right now across our region. Next slide. Our region covers 7 states: Idaho, Nevada, California, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. Our job is to give parent centers in our region the tools they need to assist families. And we want to make it easier for families and young people to learn about job training, independent living, and post-secondary transition. To reach people across multiple states, we had to stay relevant in a changing world, and to do so, we had to change how we communicate. Traditional workshops and co-ops were no longer enough to reach everyone. By building a digital engagement ecosystem, we have modernized our approach to keep up with the times, ensuring our resources are instantly accessible, engaging, and meaningful. We built a complete digital ecosystem where people can learn, talk, and work together. Next slide. So we don't just give out general facts. We create helpful quick sheets, live webinars, lessons that people can watch whenever they want using our learning management system, LearnDash. We have separate paths for staff and families in that learning management system. Our youth-informed quick sheets are created by our youth advisory community on topics such as managing money and getting workplace accommodations. We also are not doing this alone. We have partnered with other organizations in our communities, and we also work very closely with our parent centers. Next slide. This year, like I said, we focused on creating a very strong digital engagement ecosystem that will enhance sustainability. A good network uses more than one web page, so we use 6 different online tools to make sure we reach both professional staff, families, and young people who spend a lot of time online. Our 6 main tools is Instagram, where we share quick updates, reels, and resource highlights. We have our podcast called More Alike Than You Think, where we share real stories and talks from young adults with disabilities and community leaders. We have our Slack, which is a private chat space where our parent centers and CPRC staff can get together, ask questions, share ideas instantly. And we're getting ready to invite individuals such as the VR and Independent Living Center staff members as well. We have our Learning Hub, which is our online school where staff and youth and young adults can take training courses on their own time at their own pace. And then we have our website and resource directory, which is a main library webpage where users can search for and find accessible guides and tools. Next slide. So the proof has been in our numbers. We know our network is working because the data proves it. Within the last 16 months, we have been tracking all of our web page views, our Instagram, our podcast, and we've learned that our Instagram page has brought in a lot of attention, getting over 1,360 views and reaching nearly 600 individual accounts. This shows that our resources are really getting out to youth and families, and even better, people aren't just clicking and then leaving. We have a steady group of 192 regular podcast listeners and 84 people who read our newsletters. Our online space is healthy. It's still growing. We're looking forward to what happens next, and we are successfully finding new people, keeping them interested, and giving them the information they need for the future. Next slide. To enhance our web page, we worked on a resource career directory. Now it is simple, it's clean, and more accessible. It's organized by topics, so you don't have to waste time searching. As you can see, the topics such as benefits and financial planning, independent living, secondary transition. This is also helping us know the areas that we need to put more resources up in. If we only have 2 in independent living, now we know we need to create more resources in the independent living section or partner more with our independent living centers. By using the simple filters on the topic, location, and audience, a parent or young adult, staff, or community organization can find the exact information they need in just a few minutes. Next slide. So our online network is live and it's growing every day. Please check us out. Here's some of our links. I'll also post our platforms in the chat here in a minute. And thank you for letting us present today. And here's some of our contact information.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you to the RAISE Summit for allowing Yeti to come and kind of take over um, the rest of our time together and the things that we'll do. And our next section is going to focus on a youth engagement short course. But before I get started, I want to introduce Michael Stower, who is, I'll say, my partner in crime. And so my role with the Race Center, my name is Everett Dibler, and I have a unique position in that I work for both Span and the Race Center, and I work as a TA provider on NTAC, and my primary role is to ensure youth engagement is infused across our work. But I'm going to tag Michael Stower to kind of let us know, kind of like the vision and the connection between NTAC and Raise and how we got to all these lovely resources we're going to show you today. So, Michael, are you there and ready?
I am, and hopefully you can hear me, Ev. And
Yes.
just wanted to present just a little background of the Youth Engagement and Transition Initiative, or YETI. It was something that NTAC, the National Technical Assistance Center on Transition, the collaborative, started about 6 years ago. But along that path, we connected with SPAN and RAISE to jointly support YETI and the Youth Engagement Now website. Since that time, a lot has happened. If you haven't visited the Youth Engagement Now website, please do. There have been updates made, but there have been a lot of additional resources done. And I really think just spreading the word of the importance of youth leadership and engagement, as well as family leadership and engagement in all the states and local areas we're working with. One of the things that you will hear about shortly is the youth engagement short course that we are doing through NTAC that YETI was a part of. We also, a little bit later this afternoon, are going to talk about a number of resources that were put together to support youth and families in their involvement with vocational rehabilitation. And a shout out to our other partners at NTAC the Collaborative that work specifically in the vocational rehabilitation field, because they really helped us and the YETI folks in developing these. We also are in the process right now of working with organizations, states, other parent training information centers in looking at strategic planning so that we can share opportunities for both youth and families. And more information to come, Everett. So thanks for giving me
Yeah.
some voice
And
here and promoting the work we've been co-working on these last years.
yeah, and I'm so super excited to introduce our first presenters for today. We have Elizabeth Stout, who is a YETI member from Michigan. Along with her, we have Dr. Courtney Wilt from the University of Wisconsin and Stephanie Euler from the NTAC and Portland State University to talk about the youth engagement short course that NTAC and YETI collaborated on. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Wilt and her friends. Unless Stephanie's going to go first. I don't know. I'm reading the slide. I think someone might be muted. We can't hear you if you're talking, or at least I can't.
Thanks, Everett. This is Courtney. I do believe Stephanie's going first, and I'm looking at the participants to see if she's
Yes,
still on.
I'm here.
Oh, hi,
Sorry,
Stephanie.
my
Okay.
computer
Okay.
froze and my audio
No, it's
button
okay. No, it's okay.
disappeared. So I was like
No problem.
frantically trying to unmute, but I couldn't. Anyways, so thank you for your patience. I'm Stephanie Euler with NTAC, like Michael said, is the National Technical Assistance Center for Transition. Um, I'm so glad that Michael and Everett, my other Intaxi peeps, are on here. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to Billy, who's also on here from YETI, who helped us with this short course as well. But forgive me if I missed anyone. But Courtney, Elizabeth, and I are excited to share the Intaxi short course model and how we're using that model to support youth engagement, which is a very high priority charge of Intax-C. Because this may be the first time some of you are hearing about Intax short courses, we will start with the basics, try to run through those so we kind of all get a baseline of what the short course is, why we use this format, and how the model supports professional learning. Then Dr. Wilt and Elizabeth will highlight the new youth engagement short course and share what we are learning as we continue to build and refine this work. So we can go to the next slide. So the short course is a focused online professional learning experience. It's really designed to be practical, manageable, and directly connected to the work of educators, VR professionals, and partners. So even all of you could take this short course. It's open to anyone who is involved in the transition planning process. We developed this model because transition professionals are often asked to implement complex practices, but they may not always have enough transition specific preparation or ongoing support. So traditional professional development can also be hard to apply when it is one time or too general or disconnected from their daily practice. So that's where this model came from. Our courses are typically they're 4 to 8 weeks long, so depending on the course. They are flexible and self-paced, but they also include opportunities for active learning, reflection, uh, peer-to-peer discussion, and most importantly, what we pride ourselves on is the application afterwards. So we give them opportunities to apply what they've learned at their work setting. Participants engage. We have videos, we have tools, we have examples, we have action planning and other applied tasks to really emphasize that piece of the short course. So our main goal at Intaxi is not to just share information, but the goal is really to help participants think about how the information applies in their own setting, and then help them identify practical next steps they can use with youth, families, schools, VR, community partners. And then next slide. So we currently have a growing set of short courses focused on key areas of secondary transition. If you're interested, Transition Planning 101, which we focus on creating quality student-centered IEPs. So we really kind of look at those basics and measurable post-secondary goals. Transition Assessment, which Michael helped tremendously build that one. He was probably our leader on that one. Focuses on identifying key steps in the assessment process, really building multidisciplinary teams for the transition assessment process, and really supporting that student-led exploration. Then we also have a work-based learning, which focuses on integrating pre-ETs. So for our VR partners, strengthening that collaboration as well. And then our youth engagement, which we'll talk about today, is our newest course. And this one really centers youth with disabilities as active community members, not just recipients of services or supports. It focuses, or we try to focus on identity, belonging, relationships, voice, leadership, and all those conditions that help youth participate meaningfully in decisions that affect their lives. So across all courses, we've reached more than, I would say even more than this. This might be an old number, 150 participants across more than 20 states. And that includes educators, VR professionals, administrators, community partners. It really affects that. We really captured all of those audiences. Next slide. So our short course model is built around research-based elements, blah, blah, blah. We all know that, of effective professional development. But I think what is helpful for you all to know about these courses is that we really work hard to make the content relevant and practical. Um, so you can take the information back and connect it to your own roles within your work. The courses, we try hard to do active learning within these courses. So you're not just watching videos or setting and getting information. You're reflecting, you're responding, you're looking at resources and tools. Um, and then third, we try to model those supports through team-based learning. We think that's important for you to have opportunities to have conversations with your colleagues that might be across the United States. And you can kind of plan with them. Fourth, we do structured examples and feedback and action planning throughout the course, which is shown to be very helpful whenever you're trying to implement something new. I think we can go to the next one. I know we don't have much time. I'll try to get through this. Let's see. We've kind of discussed the 150 plus, the 20 states. We've also seen growth in this is pretty helpful. We've also seen growth in that's connected to self-efficacy. So participants really describe increased confidence and motivation, stronger understanding of person-centered practices, better ability to connect resources to practice, and a greater sense of agency and supporting youth outcomes. So we think that's really important. And then I'll hand it over to Dr. Wilt to talk about our new youth engagement one. Sorry, that was fast and furious.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie. My name is Courtney Wilt, and I am an associate professor at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. So currently, it's a smoggy, smoky air outside. Not a bad day to be in here indoors for this summit. Stephanie did a great job of kind of explaining some of the things you'll see here in terms of what's new about this short course for youth engagement. So like she highlighted, this is really focusing on putting youth at the center. And you'll see when we get to looking at the content, some ways we tried to do that, especially through YETI's involvement. I'm so thankful for Elizabeth and Billy, who's on the call. And then we also had Will and Ryan, some other YETI members involved in the development of this. And their voices are going to be highlighted throughout the course, as well as other modes of bringing in youth voice. We are also utilizing a community embeddedness framework in the course that really lends itself to talking about youth engagement in terms of social networks, psychology, employment, and retention when folks are really connected to their communities and where they live. So we're really focusing on that. And then also the tools and learner experience that we're using. Many of you may be familiar with Canvas as a learning management system. The courses are delivered through Canvas. And within that, we've been trying to utilize some of the newer tools that are available through that modality to really put everything kind of in the learning management system itself to just kind of support that learner experience and flow, and really open accessibility. And then finally, just a little bit about the course flow. So there are 4 units. Starting with youth identity and the foundations of engagement, going into reverence of youth and celebrating youth where they are. Then we go deeper into the idea of community embeddedness and what that looks like and feels like for youth. And then focusing on growing capacity and sustained engagement. Throughout all of these topics, like Stephanie was mentioning, we really offer participants ways to apply it to their own context. And we really recognize that everybody's context and communities and organizations are going to have a lot of differences and nuances. So even though this is, for a broad audience, we really try to make it feel personalized and applicable. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Elizabeth, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the content, particularly for Unit 1. Thanks.
Thank you, Courtney. So each of our units will be starting with an accessible, learner-friendly objectives. And we have these so that they serve as invitations explaining what the participants will be doing in that unit. In Unit 1, it's focused on who is being engaged, meaning youth, through examining youth identity and culture, and also understanding the foundations of engagement that are at the center of youth engagement. And the participants will explore identity and belonging by thinking about how race, culture, gender, and community shape how young people with disabilities see themselves. For example, the opportunity to be in a support group related to disabilities can be very helpful in promoting a positive self-experience. I personally was lucky enough to be in an epilepsy support group with a strong sense of community, and that was very important in my efforts to accept my disability and how to live with it. Next, the participants will work on shifting the narrative within their organization, which is moving away from viewing youth as passive recipients and starting to see them as active community members. And this is important because it's critical for youth to feel like they are respected members of a team that are on the same level as others who are participating, and that their participation is appreciated, rather than being someone who's simply there to fulfill a requirement and whose thoughts are not actively valued. Then the participants in the course will look at their own context and reflect on what is both opening doors for youth in the organization and what's getting in the way for participation. For example, the methods and ways that youth can participate within an organization can either be an impediment or a support to participation. Having meetings that are held during work hours and that are in person might make it challenging for youth to be engaged, while using virtual formats with flexible timeframes for meetings can encourage the participation of youth. We can move on to the next slide. Next, in each of the units will be a content introduction slide, and that orients the learners to the section, and then it also provides a roadmap with the various topics before diving in to the content. In Unit 1's Foundation of Youth Engagement, we will define youth engagement, learn about the youth engagement continuum, examine Hart's ladder of participation, and consider moving from services to partnership with youth. And this all is anchored in the Youth Engagement Network and NTAC-C and the RSA Centers Youth Engagement Toolkit. And a key theme within Unit 1 is that youth engagement is more than basic participation of someone sitting there and maybe talking a little bit. It's about providing opportunities for youth with disabilities to have the chance to shape the decisions, programs, and systems that affect their lives. As an example of the latter form of active participation, I was a youth consultant for Michigan Children's Special Healthcare Services Pediatric Epilepsy Project, and this was a chance for me to share my perspective and thoughts regarding programs, policies, and resources for children and youth with epilepsy, and actively participating in making changes to those. For example, when I thought there was not enough information from the department related to using technology to help in managing epilepsy, as it's a very strong way of doing so, I created a resource document on different apps dedicated to the management of epilepsy. And after working with my team to make some adjustments and smooth it out, that document went up on the Children's Special Healthcare Services website. I could then refer others in the epilepsy community, such as in my support group, to that. And it was a clear sign of my ability within that group to make a change. That I definitely was not there just as a passive participant to check off a box. We can move on to the next slide. Unit 1 then exposes the participants to 2 key frameworks that are related to engagement and participation: the Youth Engagement Continuum and Heart's Ladder, and both of these have additional resources available for a deeper exploration. I'm going to focus a bit on Heart's Ladder, which is a scale of the different levels of youth engagement, ranging from purely decoration at the bottom to youth-initiated shared decisions, with each step up involving more active and significant youth participation, a step in the right direction. One way YETI has worked to move up the ladder is increasing youth leadership by using an adult ally model. The adults in YETI act as our allies. They are there to provide assistance when necessary and appropriate, and they make decisions with us. But they are comfortable with letting us serve as the primary leaders and decision makers within YETI. They are still very active members of our team, and it's very important for it to function effectively. But they are very good at not having any problem with us taking the lead. For example, as you guys will be hearing about in a little bit, we recently recorded podcasts related to vocational rehab in small groups. And in each of these, we had adult allies present, but they let the YETI members serve as the initiators and directors of the groups. And we all made decisions with the youth and the adult allies. And this is an example of the top rung of Heart's Ladder functioning. Because luckily, YETI is a group that works very hard to have active youth participation and engagement. We certainly are not just decoration members. Okay. Thank you for that, and I will turn it back over.
Thank you, Elizabeth, so much. I am going to share a little bit about the user experience. So Elizabeth talked a little bit about these topics, but we're going to go in to hopefully be able to look at the course itself. Now, I should have asked Miriam at the beginning if I can share my screen for a moment, if that would be okay. Perfect. So we wanted to give you all a little taste of what the short course itself might look like. So this is, I'm going to be like previewing from the, minimize this, previewing from the
Is that the instructor side? Is that the instructor side?
Yes. Are you able to see where it says build here?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to turn on preview. And for this, because it's not completely published, and that I think it will work best to show you from this side, but it looks similar, if not exactly like it will look for the learner experience. So it gives a little bit of instruction at the top, and this is a activity within Unit 1. So there are a couple of activities in each unit. There's a overview at the beginning of each unit of all the topics that will be kind of covered within that unit itself, and then a couple activities. So we wanted to kind of highlight how youth voice is embedded and kind of the interactive feature here. So there gives a little bit of an overview about for this topic is establishing the conditions for youth engagement. And we go through these three concepts of safety, roles and opportunities, and then being valued. And these are three main conditions that when present, the youth engagement will be flourishing, thriving, and growing, right? So with each one of these, we have featured a member of YETI. First, we have Billy's, and I'm going to play it. I'm hoping that the sound is able to come through, but please let me know if for some reason that's not working.
To Elizabeth's point, one thing I'm reminded of is I wasn't there when this happened. I think you may have been Elizabeth. I don't know exactly how it all went down, but I do remember hearing this story when Yeti was in Charlotte a few years ago, and they were having this like it's like a talent hour. They call it like a story hour where people could share their story. And I guess some people were kind of hesitant about it. They weren't exactly sure if they wanted to do it or not, understandably, because some of them were new and they were around a lot of new people, and they really weren't sure, how it would resonate. And uh, I think one person got up and they shared their story and their experience, and next thing you know, it went from like, oh, this is just 10 or 30-minute event, and all of a sudden everybody wants to come up and share their story. And so I think that really going to places where you hear other people's story and you realize um, everybody has different, like Elizabeth said, everybody doesn't have the exact same experience, but they're willing to share their experiences. I think that can really help people feel confident in themselves that, hey, I can share my experience, and my experience matters. And I think that for me, kind of going back to what Elizabeth said earlier about this idea of being around people that are similar to you, in the sense of like Yeti and places I've been in that people were similar to me. I think that I felt more comfortable as we just got to know each other. Like I remember when I was at ECAC, the first couple of meetings we ever had were just us chatting and snacks and getting to know each other. And it got to the point where people were like, oh, I don't want to do any work. I just want to chat. But over time, people felt more comfortable with each other. So they were able to be more open and vulnerable. So I think creating those spaces and going to those spaces as a youth where you feel like it's not just about uh, what's my story, but I also feel like I'm confident enough to share my story because I'm around people that I feel like will listen.
Perfect. So I just put in the chat a question that will be within the quiz itself. You'll see this first question is a multiple choice question. And then when you go to the next question, it asks participants to identify one indicator in their own setting that youth are feeling safe, and that can be across physical, emotional, and psychological senses of safety. So it really applies then that idea to learners' contexts. And then the next one goes into meaningful roles and opportunities. So I am going to ask that if anybody would like to share in the chat any of their responses, how they would answer that question, go ahead and go for it. I think that'd be really kind of fun to see how folks respond.
Can you read the question again?
Yeah, definitely. So
This is Kim.
sure, Kim. It says, in one sentence, identify one indicator that youth feel safe in your setting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then when we go to Will, this is Will. I'm going to play his video. It's also about 2 minutes or less. Then we'll do the same kind of question, and this one's going to be about youth having meaningful roles and opportunities.
Getting on a level. So I love how they give us the time to take the drive. So we're we in charge. So we're able to take charge, but they also be like, hey, I'm gonna stay on the side, but you're now in charge. You take the drive, you drive the seat. I mean, you drive the car, but we'll sit right here. And I think that's one of the best things I have. Starting this group, I really have gotten out of my comfort zone. So it just has been one of the challenging part. Like that's they will challenge you. They'll be like, okay, well, so come on, let's go. And I'm like, huh? They're like, well, tell me what you're gonna do. If I was you, tell me what you're gonna do. So I love how and it also like the role play. Because sometimes you need those to get you comfortable. And that's one of the best things about just doing those role plays and trying to put you in a leadership spot. Like, yeah, so I think that's one of the best thing.
Okay, awesome. So shout out to Will, who is not here today, but Billy is, and Billy was in that last video. So thank you so much, Billy, for your participation and awesome words of wisdom here. I've posted this second question about the indicator for the meaningful roles and opportunities. And these, of course, are just examples that the youth have shared. We're also embedding other quotes and examples in the course overall. But I would love to, I think we do have time to do the next one as well, which features Elizabeth, who is here with us.
What's the second question?
The second question is, in one sentence, identify one indicator that youth have meaningful roles and opportunities in your setting.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
If there's any more questions, can you just read them, please?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, here is Elizabeth.
An important thing for a general characteristic of places that I feel where my voice matters.
Sorry.
An important thing for a general characteristic of places that I feel where my voice matters is where it's clear that I'm able to bring a unique perspective, in the sense of you don't feel like everyone else can share the exact same experiences and ideas, when it's obvious that you are filling a role and you are bringing something important to the table. And just as a general category, that makes it a lot easier to sense that, okay, there's a reason I'm here, that it's not just an extra person for a higher number of people, but that there's a benefit to having you there. Because it's easier to share, especially when there's tough things, if you have the sense that it's going to be used. And that's another thing, is if things definitely feel much more like your voice matters if it's obvious that it's what you are sharing is having an impact versus just being recorded and then nothing happens with it.
Great. So thank you, Elizabeth, for that. And then I'm going to post, and I will read this last question, is about, in one sentence, identify one indicator that youth are valued in your setting, that youth are responded to, which Elizabeth was explaining in her video segment. So each unit will feature youth voices similar to that, and youth and young adult voices and experiences in really relevant ways and across experiences and opportunities across organizations. So we hope that we have lots of folks interested in taking the course. I'm going to hand it back over to Stephanie to just kind of summarize how folks can get involved and become aware of when this course will officially launch, which is coming soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Courtney and Elizabeth. I see some multiple, just wanted to put out some clarification about the courses. So just like we discussed in the beginning, so these courses, we know that feedback and ongoing support is key when we're implementing something new that we're learning back in our spaces where we work. So one key aspect about these courses is that they are instructor led. So, and a lot of times it's usually me on there giving feedback. And so whenever you submit like an action plan or some ideas for embedding some of these strategies back in your home base, I'm able, and then Dr. Wilt or Dr. Morningstar or Michael or whoever is involved in the course can provide you with some feedback and some ideas even. So these courses are instructor led. Because of that, and we only have so much staff at NTAC, we offer them throughout the year. They're not technically online modules where you can access at any time. These are something you have to register for, and you complete within that 4 to 8 week period, depending on the topic. So we have to have registration. And to get registration information for each course, go to transitionta.org, and on that homepage you can sign up for our newsletter, our NTAC newsletter, and that is really the best way we get information out to everyone. So if you haven't signed up for that newsletter, please do so. Not only do you get information about these lovely short courses, but you get information about a whole plethora of things related to secondary transition. So we really encourage you to sign up for those. And then we will be offering this youth engagement short course at the end of August, beginning of September. Dr. Wilt and I have a few more things to work out before we can launch that registration date, but it will be coming very, very soon. So we encourage you to sign up for that newsletter and to keep checking the NTAC website. And you're always more than welcome to email me at stoyler, so OYLER @pdx.edu, and I can always help you. So transitionta.org, if you go to that homepage and scroll down, it'll say, it'll give you a spot for you to sign up for that newsletter. And we just wanted to thank you for having us, and we are really looking forward to this new short course.
Thank you all for being here and making time. Go ahead, Kim.
I just said thank you so much. Very insightful.
Yeah, we're super excited to have the short course. And hope folks are as pumped about it as we are. Our next section will focus on what Michael mentioned a little bit ago about like YETI was focused on helping parent centers and families and young adults and VR staff understand youth perspective and support young adults who are going through the VR process or who are thinking about this. And so part of what I'm going to be showing, I'm going to take over the screen, and just for the ease of the person who is doing the speaker pinning, we're going to go from me, then to Caesar, then to Amanda, and then to Cadence last, or Katie last, just so you know. And so if you are looking for these resources, though, this is what I wanted to show kind of as we get started. And hopefully you'll be able to see. Are you all seeing the Race Center website?
Yes, Everett.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you.
awesome. Awesome. So if you are on the Race Center website right now and you go to resources and you click it, you can scroll down and there is a resource by topic button, or you can click by topic up here and it'll take you down to that section of the page. The last listed resource is VR Youth Engagement Resources, and we have a entire page laid out here for you. And I'm going to go through these in order, the way they're displayed on the page. So all of these that you're going to see in the next bit of time are found on that page. And so we're really, really excited to get started with me today. Like I said, we have a few other YETI members, Caesar, Amanda, and Katie, who are going to talk about the resources that they helped develop. And so the way that YETI worked this out was they got into basically subcommittees that were focused on certain areas or certain topics surrounding VR. Things like strategies to help youth connect to vocational rehab. Then things for pre-ets and things that youth need to know and that professionals in the field should know. And then lastly, what youth hope that VR professionals understood from their perspective. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to Caesar from Virginia to chat a little bit about our top 10 list that
Thanks,
hopefully
Everett.
you can see on the screen. Go ahead, Caesar.
Thanks, Everett. So this is our top 10 list of how youth connect to vocational rehab. Uh, and this list essentially highlights the important components that's needed for the student um, and families to have a successful VR experience. I would like to highlight three things on this list that are very important to me, and I believe are very important to other people with disabilities. The first kind of item I would like to highlight on this list would be number one, which is start to talk about VR early with the students. In particular, I was referred to VR during my senior year of high school, and the referral was put in by the school, and then I was essentially handed off to the VR agency. But I did not understand the VR systems or services and supports. And so I really think it's important that schools and the VR agency really partner together to, number one, help the schools understand the different services and supports and pathways that the student with the disability can take, and also supporting the school and helping the student actually develop a plan of what services and supports they want to pursue even before they get referred to VR, so that the student comes with the plan and they know what they need and they're not kind of in this black hole. Item number two that I would like to talk about is would be really focusing on the strengths and interests of the student. Um, I, along with my other colleagues of YETI, have tons and tons of advocacy experience. And that was my employment goal with the VR agency was to really find a position that would utilize my experience in disability advocacy. And essentially, um, the VR team had difficulty in helping me find those positions. And I was essentially pushed to change my own employment goal to make it easier for the VR team to achieve my goal. And so I really think it's important that the VR team builds collaborations with organizations that do disability advocacy, start to build collaborations with those organizations and community partners that are in the interest of the student to help better find those leads. Lastly, um, I think this is the most important one, is that all parties involved in the transition process remember that they are the support system to help the student achieve their goals. And just really a reminder that they are there to really make sure that the student is happy with their employment goal or where they are placed, and really shifting away from, oh, I'm going to say your goal, your employment goal is too hard, so we're going to find a different pathway. And just really understanding that it is VR's job, along with all the other parties, to really put in the effort and the hard work to help the student with what they want to achieve. So that is the top 10 list. We also developed a series of podcasts that really just dive into the real life, raw experiences of um, people with disabilities and their experience with VR, and they really dive into the important things that need to be in place for the student to be successful in the VR system. And so you get different points of views from different people, and that really helps understand, what's actually working on the ground and what's not working.
Yeah,
And
and
go ahead,
go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Caesar.
Ed.
Sorry, I thought I tried to
Uh,
read your mind, Caesar. Go ahead.
And you can, of course, find these resources on the summit page, and of course, reach out to me and the other YETI members to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Caesar. And these podcasts are directly tied back to the top 10 list. If I go back to the main page and you scroll down, you can see you can download the top 10 list. But then there's a link to the podcast series that's YouTube based, but then there are audio and video versions of the episodes, and it tells you how each episode ties back to that top 10 list. So thank you, Caesar. And next, we have Amanda from Delaware, who is going to talk a little bit about pre-employment transition services and some of the resources that they created that are on this page. So with that, go ahead, Amanda.
Hi, so I wanted to talk to you guys about one of our resources that we created, which is top 10 things that the first one is top 10 things that every student should know about pre-employment transition services or pre-ETs. Because when we were originally, our group was tasked with creating a kind of a top 10 things that professionals should know about youth, and it became evident um, in our discussions that there was actually very minimal knowledge of what VR, but especially pre-its was, even within our own group, whether that was participants had not received pre-ed services at all, or they had received them, but they'd never been told, hey, this is pre-eds and this is what it is. Um, and so from there, we were like, hey, I think we need to make a second resource for the youth about what exactly is pre-eds and what do you need to know. Can you scroll down, Everett? Thanks.
Yep.
So I don't want to get into these too much. They are going to be there, and there's a lot of text within these resources, and you are going to be able to read them. So I'll just go over kind of the headlines for each one. But these are kind of the points that we came out with. On one side, we came up with the main point, a little bit about it, and then on the other side, kind of a conversation starter or a question that you can ask for VR and pre-eds. I know in my day-to-day life, I am a teacher of the visually impaired, and the one thing that I can tell you about students is if I ask my students, do you have any questions? Usually the answer is no. If I ask my students and I reframe it just slightly and I say, what questions do you have for me? Like, were you confused about, and then I'll list something I noticed they were a little bit confused on, or you prompt them with a question, they're more likely to feel comfortable to ask you those questions. So these are kind of prompting questions for you, for students and youth, where if they're not sure where to start with asking questions, this is a good branching off point. So our first one is pre-eds is about your future. This is a big one. I feel like sometimes students feel as if they have to go along just because, an adult is telling them something. And really it is, you're right as a self-determined individual to disagree. If you are like, hey, I don't think that's for me, it is absolutely well within your right to speak up and have that conversation. And the next is that pre-ed services are free. This is something I see with a lot of special education services, but pre-eds are free. Students should not have to worry about, the financial burden of them. The third one is you don't need to have everything figured out. Honestly, as adults, how many times have we had a career shift within our own adult lives? I know, like my wife, she's already changed her career twice. And I feel like there's this expectation with youth when they receive VR services of you need to know what you're going to do with your life. And if we as adults don't know that, how can we expect, a 14-year-old to know that? So you it's just an idea, but it doesn't have to be solid, and of course it can always change. And that's why keeping up with those regular transition assessments is so important. Can you scroll down, Everett? Another big one, your voice matters. I touched on this a couple in the other ones, but again, making sure that it is your life and your transition process, and your voice should be the core voice because this is all about people trying to help you as the youth. So you should be able to speak up. The 5 required pre-ETS activities can help you it can help like prepare you for adult life. That was the other one is what we found in our discussions that even our youth with Yeti were not sure what pre-eds, and they definitely were not sure what the five pre-eds areas were. So this touches a little bit on like what the pre-eds is, and also kind of prompts students to ask about what pre-eds activities might be helpful to them to start that discussion if they're confused on, what pre-eds actually entails. Can you scroll out? Thanks. Work experiences, helping you learn what you like. Work experiences I think, are such a valuable experience to kind of dip your toes into so many different areas. And you should be attempting and making sure that, if you're interested in a certain area, that's where you're trying to get work experiences in. If you know you like hate animals, you don't ever want to like go near an animal, maybe the SPCA or a farm is not a good work experience you would want to be doing. And then knowing that pre-eds and VR services work together, but that they are different because each state agency is going to handle this a little bit differently. So it's important to know the differences between the two and especially how your state handles that. I know in the state of Delaware, Delaware has its own blindness agency, which is where I work. We actually have our teachers and our VR department are under the same agency. And we have VR counselors, but we also have Denise Crockett, who's our pre-eds coordinator, who is a totally separate role. And often she and our VR counselors will collaborate and go out together, but they are separate roles. Can you scroll? Thanks. That VR services can provide additional supports. So, when I was in Pennsylvania, which is where I grew up, VR was also the one who was kind of helping me coordinate assistive technology, orientation and mobility, since I'm visually impaired. It's important to know, again, because each state is a little bit different, like what VR services are provided and what additional services and supports are going to help you reach those career goals. And then again, you are more than a test score or an evaluation. I feel like so often youth are told, you can't do X, so you're never going to be employable, which is not true. I think that we need to be taking a look at the whole person and not just what one score or transition evaluation says about a student. And then finally, that success happens through support, opportunity, and believing in yourself. And that you really need to be your advocate. And, you can have people in your corner, but you need to believe in yourself in order for yourself to be successful. And then we also, so again, as Everett's pulling it up, we came through this, we realized we needed to make a resource through youth. But our original idea was to make a resource kind of from youth to VR professionals. So once we got the what is pre-eds conversation out of the way, then we backtracked to our original plan of, hey, let's create, a top 10 recommendations from youth to VR professionals. And again, I'll just touch on this. This is structured in a similar way where again we have our topic area, lots of text. But on the right, this isn't really questions for VR to ask to youth the way the other one was questions for youth to ask to VR. This one is more a professional development kind of thing, or a ask it to yourself if you're a VR professional while reading, about your practices as, working in VR or pre-eds and what can you do to incorporate more meaningful youth engagement into your practices. The first one is start pre-eds early. And we did put a disclaimer in this one that I know that the big one is funding and what are you allowed to do and not do. But there are ways to start pre-eds early. I know something that I've been working on in Delaware with our blindness agency is talking about how there are areas of pre-eds that overlap with something called the expanded core curriculum. So there might be skills like self-advocacy or job and career exploration that I could be touching on as a teacher, where I could be collaborating with the pre-eds coordinator to make sure that that's embedded in the classroom and not just, hey, a pre-eds coordinator or a VR counselor is coming from outside. The second one is strengthening understanding and collaboration. Uh, and that, like, kind of like what I just touched on, is it's really important that you are knowing who else is kind of working in your field and how can you collaborate with those people. So, obviously, I'm going to talk about Delaware a lot because that's where I am. But Delaware in the blindness community has a really cool opportunity where our teachers are down the hall from our VR agency, which does not happen in a lot of states and really fosters that, like, um, transition age student to VR collaboration. I think we skipped 3 and 4, Everett. Thanks, Ev. Recognizing strengths, goals, and potentials. Kind of going off of the one that we had for youth, but don't just base all of your ideas about a student on scores or assessments. Make sure that you're recognizing, like, what does the student want to do? What is the student's strengths? And it doesn't necessarily have to be career strengths. Maybe it's just something they're interested in. And making youth voice central. The goal is to help the youth. So everything should be kind of surrounding and orbiting the youth and what the youth wants and what is the youth strength, because at the end of the day, this is their life, not yours. Can you scroll down, Ev? Thank you. Connecting Priyats to real
Amanda,
career.
after this one,
Huh?
Amanda, after this, I'm gonna turn it over to Katie, okay? Just so
Yes.
she has some time. Okay.
Yes. I can kind of screw through this real fast so she has time.
Okay.
But I mean, you don't need to listen to me drone on. The biggest one is really make sure that you are centering youth when you are doing pre-eds and making sure that it is actually what the youth is interested. Let the youth have opportunity to advocate. Let the youth decide what they want to do with their life, what career works for them. And you will find that you will have more success. Now I can
Amanda, and I see some comments in the chat that people are saying these resonate, and people are saying that there are going to be some limitations here and there depending on where you are. But we hope these are great conversation starters and ways to get things moving and ways to get people having conversation. And thanks, Amanda. And I wish we had all the time in the world for you to show the whole 10 because I feel
Yes,
it
I
is so
know.
important, but we want people to have that. And so the next person to go is Katie. I guess, are you from Oregon now? Can I say that?
You can
Katie,
say that now.
I can say that now.
Yes,
Okay.
hi everyone.
Yeah.
My name's Cadence or Katie Russell. I am from Oregon. I'm a graduate student at Oregon State University studying geology. I'm a YETI member and I also have ADHD and dysgraphia. And what my group worked on was generating a product that is for VR professionals, but it's created by youth and young adults. And this is based off of our own experiences with VR, where we see some of the problem issues and kind of where things fell through to try and address those and kind of shift the mindset or framework of how VR training professionals, but also for like community members. So this is much more directed towards like working professionals rather than youth, but it's written by youth and young adults. And the outline of this document is that there's 6 main like categories that we kind of developed. Every category has some sort of like overarching quote that it starts with. And then it has a don't do this. So these are areas that, maybe people had issues with in their own experiences, right? Informed by their experiences and stories. And then we have recommendations of try this instead. In this first one, I'll just go over the one and then we'll kind of tell you the rest of them. But in this building trusting relationships, we talk about how, don't just focus on only paperwork, eligibility, or service requirements. Paperwork is obviously a part of the job, but no one wants to just be seen as paperwork and seen as a checklist. And so that first bullet point in the try this instead says, let conversations feel like conversations, not interviews. Leave room for natural discussion instead of moving through a checklist of questions. And that's to really help build this, here's this issue, try this idea instead. Because if someone feels like they are more than just something to get through, they feel like they're actually being seen and heard, you are much more likely to have actual, outcomes that are representative of that person and that youth, just like how anyone would want to be seen as a whole person, right? So within this kind of section, we outline certain things and then we give recommendations. And then at the end, we also give examples for every single group. So this one says, during an intake meeting, the counselor asks about the youth's interests, strengths, and goals and encourages them to actively participate in the conversation. If you'll notice, intake meeting in that example is starred, which I'll get to in 1 second. But our 6 key areas to kind of go over, we talked about building trusting relationships. And if you'll scroll down a little bit, Everett, we go into making information clear and accessible. Next page. We talk about supporting self-determination and how to do that. Oh, keep scrolling. Focusing on strengths and not just challenges. And then our last page with information talks about making career planning meaningful. And then our very last one is obviously going to be encourage youth voice and participation, since that is one of our biggest passions. And then at the very end of this document, I kind of highlighted how intake meeting was starred. We also have a word bank. Considering one of our key focus areas is making information clear and accessible, we wanted to highlight words that may not be common for someone who is new to the job, right? All of us know within the disability world, there can be a lot of word soup. I'm a geologist. We love words that have no meaning anywhere outside of the science. And defining those really helps the person who is in training, really get their footing, but also it establishes that baseline of definitions does not mean that someone doesn't know something. It just rounds out the language. So we have that at the end of this Word document as well. And also linked to this document is a language-only version. This is a graphics format, so we have the one that is much more screen reader accessible. So we have accessibility kind of spread for all people, depending on what you are, what works best for you. So what is now up on the screen is the same exact thing. All the content and the words are exactly the same. This one is just more screen reader friendly than the graphics version. And that is kind of the real quick overview of these documents. So this one, Amanda shared a really awesome one about students and VR professionals. This one is made for professionals and community members, but it's written by youth and young adults.
Thank you all, Katie, Amanda, and Cedar. Thank you for being here, making these. And I want to give a shout out to Bridget Griffin and Brenda Simmons, who are on this call as well from the NTEC, who kind of helped guide making sure that we were not just speaking language for youth and family, but also speaking the language of VR and trying to make sure that the recommendations we were giving would be applicable to them and they would understand what we were trying to say also as a team. And then I also want to mention this one thing we didn't say is that these groups that were worked on, they were written by youth and young adults, but there were also parents and family members who were actively engaged in the development process also. Yet it decided at that time to engage with some of the YETI parents that have been around. And so we're super excited that everybody that's a part of our Yeti community, like is a member right now, contributed to these and made these a thing. And we hope that they are useful. And I'm going to re-put the link to these resources in the chat so folks can have those as well. And then as I do that, though, I want to turn it over to Dawn, Billy, and Kim, who are going to talk about digital access. And in particular, I believe Canva and other digital platforms. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Dawn, Billy, and Kim. Dawn and Kim are mother and daughter from Virginia, right? And Billy, who you already saw in a lovely video, is from the great state of North Carolina. And sadly, he is a Panthers fan, which is gross to me as a Cowboys fan. But I'm so excited to have the three of them here today with us. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys.
All right.
Everett, quick
Thank you.
question. Can you let me know when you're at the next slide, please, so that I can stay on top of it, so that we can stay on top of things?
So Kim, obviously this is your mother, Dawn. I'm going to be sharing the slides, so I'll let you know.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me make sure I am
You should have
on.
sharing access now, Dawn. You should have access to share. There you go.
Nope, that's not what I wanted to share. Hold on. Let me share. That is what I wanted to share, but wrong screen. So give me 1 second. And as I'm getting the screen up, I'm going to do a check-in with Billy. Billy, how is your technology
Good
doing
news,
now?
Dawn. It has been saved.
All right, wonderful.
I'm good stuff.
Good.
Awesome. Okay. All right, you guys, everyone should be seeing now the slides up on the screen.
Can y'all see and hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is great. Okay. So, all right. Well, thank you all. This is we're gonna go a very shortened and quick version of what sometimes I've done a few of these presentations around accessibility. And so we've condensed this, but I think you'll still get a lot out of it. We're going to do the accessibility tool spotlight, touch on some of Canva, as well as some other things. I'm going to introduce myself, and then Kim and Billy, you all will go after me. So I'm a mom of three with vision loss. Kim will introduce herself. She's one of my daughters. I also have a 21-year-old daughter who is blind in one eye, and a forever 18-year-old who we lost 8 years ago, who was blind due to a progressive neurological condition. In my professional role, family engagement coordinator at the Partnership for People with Disabilities at VCU, and work on several projects, within that, including the Educational Hub for Sensory Disabilities, the Virginia Deaf Blind Project, the Center for Family Involvement, also very involved with YETI, and so on. So Kim, I'm now going to slide 3.
Okay. I'm Kim. I'm a 24-year-old. I'm a social work major. I'm blind. I have autism, hydrocephalus, which is a brain condition, and epilepsy. I love horses, the military, and Star Wars. I'm an advocate. I'm involved in several different statewide committees. Center for Disability Leadership's Inclusion Project. So many things in the chat. My braille display is picking up on the chat. Partnership for People with Disabilities. Speak, Shape, Change. And I'm YETI-PCs include, or I am a member of the Parent Educational Advocacy Training Center's Youth Empowerment Transition, or YET Council. PTI is my PTI in Virginia. Um, I'm also a member of the Ally, A Life Like Yours Alliance from the Arc of Virginia, and I'm also a proud YETI member.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. And Billy, we're going to slide 4.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Billy Pickens. I'm 29 years old. I am a graduate of the University of North Carolina in Charlotte. As Ed mentioned earlier, I'm from Charlotte, and I'll let you slide in the Panthers comment because we're on a call now, but I'll get back to that later. I graduated with a bachelor's in communication studies and a minor in journalism. And I'm totally blind with progressive hearing loss, in other words, deafblind. And I'm a speaker, a writer. I love to travel. I visited all 50 states, and I've served on numerous boards, including my student advisory board in college at University of North Carolina in Charlotte, but many youth boards throughout my state, throughout the country. Um, and I'm an advocate for myself and for people with disabilities, and just for people in general that need it. And um, and I'm also a proud YETI member, and I'm really excited to be here today because I really believe that access and accessibility are important, especially if we're talking inclusion for people with disabilities. You know, I'm a firm believer that uh, we can't get in the door unless you grant us access to the room. And that's why I feel like access is very important.
Awesome. Thank you, Billy. All right, so moving on to slide 5, we're going to skip this. I'm going to ask people not to put anything in the chat in relation to this right now. And I didn't realize we kind of did a dry run, but we thought that putting things in the chat would be okay, but it is interfering with Kimmy and Billy's Braille displays as they're trying to follow along with their accessible document. So, just I'll go ahead and move forward. An overview of what we're going to kind of cover is, looking at, why accessibility is important, which I think most people know, but we'll review some of that, reviewing some of the basics, looking at social media and how to make that accessible, videos, making those accessible, kind of touch on a few Canva tools, and then some of the pros and cons with Canva, hyperlinks and hashtags as well. Okay. So Billy, this is slide 9. We did skip a few, so it may
Oh yeah.
seem like it's not going consecutive.
Okay. Slide. Okay, that's why accessible digital.
Content, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're going to talk about why accessible digital content. So you got to think about it. Who is your audience? So professionals or parents, youth with disabilities, anyone from any of these groups could have access needs. And as I mentioned earlier, inclusivity and equal access and improved usability for everyone is really important and allows everyone to participate fully in the digital world, access information, and engage in online activities. And another reason why it's important is because it's the law. So legally, public entities with total population of 50,000 or more by April 2027, which it was originally, I believe, April of this year, but they pushed it back. So public entities with total population of less than 50,000 by April 2028, all these entities need to have access, especially when it comes to websites and the internet, and how they use their websites. So hyperlink provided here for fact sheet and the new rules on the accessibility of web content and mobile apps provided by state and local governments.
And I'm sorry, I was half listening, Billy, on that part. That was hyperlinked. So when you access the slides, you can access anything that we have on throughout these slides that are highlighted in like a bright neon green. Because we have a blue background, the green kind of stood out for the hyperlinks. So you can follow those hyperlinks through the slides. Okay, Kim, slide 10, which is the accessibility basics.
Thank you.
Mhm.
This is Kim. Readable fonts, Arial, Calibri, Tahoma, etc. That's very good for reading fonts. And plain language, is vital. It's paramount. Use um, document structure, title and headings, and strong color contrast. In purple is weaker than strong color contrast in yellow. If you see the purple, it's not quite as strong as the yellow one.
On the blue background.
Yeah, on the blue background. Um, Alternative text for graphics and photos. Um, Use built-in features. Um, Canva, social media, Microsoft products, meaningful hyperlinks, and hashtags. Audio description for videos. That's a big one. And next is slide 11. Billy?
Yeah, thank you, Kim. So now we're going to talk about deaf and hard of hearing basics, which I have personal experience with. So closed captions on videos are really important. High sound quality. Make sure it sounds good, that it's not muffled or in any way and whatnot. Reduce background noise when recording, and I know this is very important. I know sometimes that can be difficult, but especially if you're recording in a loud area, or you're outside or somewhere. But when you are recording, just try to reduce as much background noise as possible when doing that. Eliminate competing sounds. So, for example, music. Include transcripts of videos. So if you don't have closed caption, have transcripts and comments of the video, or connected to the video, however that would manifest itself. Transcripts are more than just a spoken word. It needs to include identifying who is speaking, sounds and actions that give context, visual information, notes on the screen, relevant visual action, scene changes, and I believe we're on to slide 12.
Slide 12, we're skipping slide 12.
Yep.
Well, I was going to touch on it really quick. We're not going to go into this in detail, but I was just going to make comment really quick. So our office created infographics or rack cards the year or two ago with just some tips and tricks on how to make things accessible from social media posts to PDFs to websites, presentations, videos. So we do have a QR code on this screen. We also have a hyperlink at the end of the slide to a text-only version. And I can show those later on as well as we move along. But I just wanted to mention that. So we're getting ready now to jump into some of the social media things to think about. So, again, as you're doing outreach and you're trying to connect with your families or with your youth, whoever, professionals, you want to make sure that your content is accessible. Because anyone from any of those populations, as was mentioned earlier, could have those access needs. So, one of the things, and the other thing to
Why
think
does
about.
the social media 14?
I'm sorry.
14, yeah.
I apologize, Kim. I'm on 15 now. It was 14 and I just switched to 15. I apologize. What was I going to say? Oh, so one of the things that we talk a lot about where I work is, the fact that, we are, the partnership for people with disabilities, right? We're a UCED, a University Center in Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. And if, of anyone, all of our organizations should be the role model in making things accessible. And so, we've really been pushing hard and doing a lot of training internally to try to make that big shift. And so here on this screen is an example of I don't do our social media. I have someone else does our social media, but these are some screenshots of, one of the posts as an example. So on the screen, we've got our graphic or photo, which I'll describe in just a second. the post body is the center image, and then on the right-hand side is the screenshot of the alt text, or how we added the alt text. And so in the post body, we went on to describe all the text that was within the photo, which is they said to volunteer hyperlocally, so that's what I did. Sometimes supporting the community can and should mean taking care of yourself first. One-on-one support, always free. Helpline, and then it lists the number, and email, and it lists the email address. And then it goes on to who are we, and it has a tiny URL that's hyperlinked. And then it has some hashtags below, which are all capitalized, the first letter of each word. Oh, that's not hashtags. I'm sorry. Those are hyperlinks as well. So in the body, in this middle image, the post body, it does not have the image description. So one thing that we've learned as we've gone along is that it's probably best practice to add that image description to the post body. And then also to the alt text. And maybe you're more descriptive in the post body and then briefer in the alt text about what the image is. But with having the image description in the post body, that gives better access to people who are deafblind. So in the alt text of this, as you can see, it says a person reading a book in a bubble bath with a chalkboard that says self-care o'clock. And so that would just be an example of how you would make an example of how you could make your post accessible when using an image. And as I said, the only thing missing currently from this is the image description in the post body. Okay, let's see. I wanted to leave this up. I'm going to skip this for now, but know that it's in the slides. I need to skip it for time's sake.
Which
But
slide are you on?
I am on slide 16 and getting ready to go to 17. So on slide
Okay.
16 is two videos to show it of what a user experiences when images are not alt texted, which is the video on the left versus the video on the right with images alt texted. But as I said, I'm going to skip that for now. I'm going on to slide 17.
Oh, hello? Okay. I'm sorry. Am I still there?
Yeah, did your computer start to die?
Yes, but I plugged it in. I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry, it's okay.
All good.
So I'm on to slide 17 now. And again, these are images to show, users how do you add the alt text? So for those of you who may not be familiar, if you're in Facebook, you're going to select the image, right? And you can do this as you're making a post, or you can go back and edit it and add it after the fact. But up in the top right-hand corner, you have three dots for a screen reader or a voiceover user that usually says more. And then step 2, you're going to find the option to select edit alt text. And then on step 3, you're going to override or add your alternative text. So on this screen, I also have highlighted that you cannot rely on AI generated descriptions. So a lot of technology out there is getting really good about trying to get AI to pick up on some of these accessibility features, such as image description. But in our image here, we have my gorgeous cats. I love cats. I have my orange cat on a railing looking at pink and purple flowers with a gray cat sitting on the deck below. But if you look on our screen capture of our AI generated alt text, it's telling us that it might be an image of a chipmunk, right? And that's it. So that's giving very limited information. Whereas the second image or second part of the text that I have circled in red below, I went in and actually described that it was a flower box on a deck railing with pink and purple flowers, orange cat on railing peeking inside the box with a gray cat below.
Yeah,
So
and
Mhm.
I'm sorry, this mom, for but after when you alt text, you have to do it after you post and you have to wait. It shouldn't be that way. You should be able
You
to alt text before you post.
you can do it both ways. Just sometimes I get in a hurry and I forget. Are you calling me out on some of my posts on Facebook?
No, I just didn't know that you could alt text before you posted. I remember that I thought that every time you alt text you had to post and then wait.
No, you can do it.
No,
You
you
can do
can't.
it either way. Either way. So I went
Okay.
on to slide 18, and 18 is just another very quick example of the same thing on Instagram, where you go onto the image, there's the three dots, or for a voiceover user, it's going to say more. And then there's the edit alt text option, and then you would add your alt text and just type it in or dictate if that's what you prefer. And in this case, it's a gray Maine Coon cat, my baby Luna. But it says a gray Maine Coon cat wearing a pink harness peeks over the side of the deck to look at the grass. Um, and just something to know also about both Facebook and Instagram, you also have the option, thank you, beautiful kitties, somebody put in the comments. Um, Something to know about these features in Instagram and Facebook as well is that in this three dots or the more option, you also have the option. I know in Facebook, I don't use Instagram as much, so I'm not 100% sure, but since they're Meta, I would think that they're the same. You also have the option of adding audio. So you can add your own audio description as well. And then that's where you would also add captions when you're using is through that more, those three dots or that more button. Okay. So I wanted to point that out as we go along. And we're going to go to slide 19. And Kim, I think you guys were both hitting this or something. It's the meaningful hyperlinks and hashtags. Were you going to do it, Kim? And I think Billy might jump in a little bit.
Yes,
Okay.
the meaningful hyperlinks and hashtags. We're going to compare what's okay and what's not okay. There's on the left side of this slide is the yet yes column that reads, where is the link taking me? Link name is the same as where the link is taking the person. For an example is Raise Summit Agenda. Capital R for Raise, capital S for Summit, capital A for Agenda. The hashtags, you capitalize the first letter of each word. Two examples below. Hashtag Raise Summit 2026, hashtag accessibility matters. On the right side is the no column that reads, forgive me, um, okay. Don't use the long URL. The sample long URL is shown. Avoid using. Click here, read more, and avoid hashtags that bleed together. And there's two examples below. Forgive me. Racist Summit 2026. That is how my screen reader uses it. Accessibility matters.
Mhm.
Note. I hear somebody.
No, you're
Um,
good.
sh short hashtags, videos included, but it won't be used and played for Rays due to time constraints.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
believe you can watch it in the slides because they'll be sent out, right?
Yes, people can
And
access the
and
slide.
and just to emphasize Kim's point, the reason why the left column is better than the first column better than the second column is because our screen readers read things as their words. So even if so you can look at something and notice, oh, that's not a word, that's a URL, HTTP or whatnot. our screen reader doesn't know that. So it reads it as if it's a word. And so that's why things get mixed up. And so that's why it's really important to capitalize everything so it sees it as its own separate word.
Hmm. Hashtag Kim Drudge.
Yep.
Or hashtag Billa Pickens.
Whoops,
Yep.
video tried to play. Okay.
Also, another note, avoid using link.
Oh,
What? Hello?
sorry, I moved back. Go ahead. Avoid using link.
Yeah, that is how my JAWS sometimes says it. Like, click on this link.
Hmm.
Or link, click here. That is how my screen reader says it, as a blind person does not know where in the world they're going, where the link takes them.
Right. But if you use
I
the words then and have it hyperlinked, that gives you the information to know that it is a link, but the words are telling you where it's taking you.
Mm-hmm.
Such as this example of Ray's summit agenda that's spelled out and it's then hyperlinked, so you know where it's taking you. Is that correct?
Yeah, and is that the good one?
That was the good one. Yeah,
Okay.
not the URL.
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
Slide 20 is social media reels and videos. Who's doing that one?
I believe I
Mhm.
was doing that one, but
Believe so.
I
Okay,
think yeah.
go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, so now let's talk about one of my favorite things to do in my free time. Watch reels and videos on social media. So this slide shows a screenshot of a Facebook reel that has closed captions in the center of the screen for easier reading. Audio is also included, and a second image is a sample rap card that has tips on how to make accessible videos and reels. And this is also included in the table of contents link we provided earlier. So this can be easier to add captions on Facebook or Instagram or Meta to add captions or audio description, but you can use Canva also. Don't put captions at the bottom or end to end. Put them in the middle. Add transcripts to comments area. As I mentioned earlier, that's a great way to add transcripts of videos and whatnot. Is put them within the video or within the comments. And we are on to slide 21, audio
Audio
description.
description. Thank you, Billy. I
Yeah.
can do that one.
All right, on to you, Kim.
Thank you. This is an audio description example. This is a personal video that was audio described using the same options as whenever we add alt text on Facebook.
Mhm.
Um,
I'll play it I'm just going to play a short clip just to give an example because we're running we're like down to a few minutes. Um, and hopefully it will share. This is where we added our own voices using the Facebook add audio feature. Doe casually walk through the yard. The doe stops to turn around and look at the cat. I'm going to stop there just because, as I said, for time constraints, long story short, the cat chased they chased each other around the yard a little bit. It was really cute. But I just wanted you to hear that piece of it where we used our own voice, or I used my voice to add the audio description to a video using Facebook features. Um, Going on to slide 22. I'm not going to play this again because we're down to just like a few minutes left. But this was a video or a reel created using Canva. And there's features in Canva for AI, being able to use an AI voice or your own voice to add voiceover or audio description. So for this video in particular, the audio, there's captioning, or the words are displaying on the screen on purpose. So kind of captioning, but that's the way they designed the video to be. Um, as well as voiceover. So all of the words being shown on the screen, it uses an AI voice to read it aloud as well. The one thing that was missing from this reel or video is that none of the images, as the images change and throughout the video, none of the images were described. And we did not include transcript. So again, this is a learning process and things that we're improving over time. But those were just some things that, we're starting to pay more attention to and make sure that we're including. I'm moving forward into slide 23. I'm not going to go through the steps here, but the next few slides have screenshots and the steps to how do you add that AI voiceover. And then what am I on? Slide 24 and 25 show how you can add your own voice and or video, right? So again, these are going to take you through the steps along with the visual to help if that helps you. Going into slide 25, again, showing that option of being able to, that's a continuation from the last one, being able to record your own voice to a video or a presentation. You can use your camera or not. And so a nice thing about this, especially if you're doing like a pre-recorded presentation, if you're using a camera and maybe you're needing to add ASL to your presentation, you can spotlight yourself down in the corner or take up half of the slide or whatever. So that's a feature on Canva. We're at time, so we're gonna touch on this accessibility checker, and then we're gonna stop there because that was pretty much wrapping it all up. Billy, I think you had slide 26.
All right, so we're going to talk about accessibility checkers. So how to use the Canva accessibility checker. So first, you go to File, Accessibility, check Design Accessibility, and Canva accessibility issues to be aware of. It does not hold the accessibility features when you download or share your creation, unfortunately. Something to work on. Important note about all accessibility checkers. Nice tool to help, but cannot rely only on the automated checkers. They do not pick up on all accessibility issues, especially reading order. Always use human review and be familiar with the accessibility options. And slide 27.
Yep, we're going to skip as a review. We don't have time for questions, unfortunately. And then I skipped through a couple other slides that show a screenshot of the rack cards. We have a resource slide in here and then a connect with us. So if you have any questions that you think you'd like to ask any of us, our emails are displayed on the screen, or you can access the slides as well to get those email addresses and links to the rack cards. Okay.
Thank you, Dawn and Kim and Billy. This has been fascinating. Learn a lot about these new tools on accessibility with social media and all that is really wonderful. And we do have some time. We have 7 minutes for questions, not only to you, but to the other presenters as well. So I know that some of the questions have been answered already online, but we have some time for questions right now. So if somebody has a question for the presenters, the last ones or the previous ones.
And this is everything. I just want to thank all our presenters, but also just say real quick that NTEC does support a youth and family engagement community of practice. So if you like the information that you saw today, we do typically meet once a month, and our next meeting, and you can sign up for this on the NTEC website, is September 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to have you if you're not a part of those community of practice groups. We just share resources, talk about things that are coming up, and try to find ways to continue to work together and grow.
Yes, and
So,
Lauren and I, we just put over there the link to the survey so you can give us some feedback about today's summit, day 2. Today is the culmination of the summit. We had day 1 last Monday, and today is the last one. And everything that you have heard has been recorded. We will post the recording link on the RAISE website along with them. I mean, the slides are already there. The recording links, English and Spanish, are going to be posted over there. And yes, so we do have time. Let me see. We have questions here. Yes, a lot of the questions have been answered already. And so if you have any comments, we have the websites of the presenters right here. And yeah, we still have some time. Emily, well, raise hand. Yes, I can unmute. We can unmute you. Hold on 1 second. Let me try to unmute you. Okay, I need to move things around and find you. Emily. Okay, I am going to unmute Emily.
I can't see the evaluation to print it out. I mean, fill it out.
Yes, if you click on the chat on the last, hold on 1 second, it's coming up. I'm going to put it again. Okay, but also everyone who registered is going to get it. It's going to get it via email. Okay, so if you don't worry, if you cannot complete it right now, it's over there, but you will get an email with the recording link and with this link to the survey. Okay, and please register for, we want to have another webinar coming up in September. Subscribe to our newsletter so you are informed. And I think the link was shared somewhere for the recording. It is on our website. Visit our website and you will be informed of everything that is coming up. Yeah. So I'm going to put here the link to the resources, the race. Yes, here's the link to the summit. Part 1 recording is already there. So if you missed it for some reason, you can go there and watch the recording or see the slides. It was super interesting as long as today. It was amazing. So thank you to the
and thank you to our
presenters.
youth families who made time to be here today to make this possible. You guys are awesome. I'm so blessed to work with all of you. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes. Thank you so much. There are no questions or any comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
I hashtagged Raise in the chat.
Hear
I
that.
love it. Okay. I love
Hashtag
it.
raise forever.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.